Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're well. You amazing, amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. We're going into Idaho, baby. Moscow, Idaho. As we now have a response from the defense over the the prosecution's response over the change of venue. And it's an eye opener. But I think what it also does is shows the mentality of this area and pretty much what we've seen throughout the Idaho foreigner Bryan Kohberger situation. And this is reflective within this doc of what we see amongst even the chat in the comments when you do videos. And what we're seeing, we see it amongst the Gonsalves army. We see it in their comments. It's gross. It's horrible. It's horrendous. It's a mess. Let's have a look at this doc. Comes now, Bryan C. Kohberger, buying through his attorneys of record, hereby submits this reply. Don't worry, I'm not reading this entire doc. To the state's objection in his motion for change of venue. The pressure to convict Bryan Kohberger is so severe that Latah County survey respondents said if he wasn't convicted, they'd burn the courthouse down. Outrage would be a mild description. They would probably find him and kill him. There would likely be a riot and he wouldn't last long outside because someone would do the good old boy justice. Enraged, strong opinions, firing of officers, riots, parents would take care of him. The mob mentality within the community is the exact reason that statutory grounds prior to selecting the jury exists to move venue. Given these responses from potential jurors in Moscow and the state's acknowledgement that a remedy is needed for a jury to be selected, the state recognizes the obvious. An enormous venue problem exists. The state brings forth, no experts to counter Mr. Kohberger's, who are all clear venue must be changed in this case. The state does, however, acknowledge that Bryan Kohberger has a constitutional right to a fair trial with an impartial jury. Mr. Kohberger's motion to change venue is supported with a memorandum expert affidavits. Declarations and exhibits that preview the testimonial evidence of the court. The court will hear, on August 29th, 2024. A rebuttal declaration of Dr. DeHeer is submitted with this reply. On June 28, 2024, the Idaho Supreme Court pointed out that a change of venue is not an unreasonably high hurdle for a defendant to clear, but it does require proof of prejudice or a showing of a reasonable likelihood of prejudice. The court also concerned with the accuracy of the pretrial publicity, the extent to which the articles are inflammatory, inaccurate, or beyond the scope of admissible evidence, the number of articles, and whether the jurors were so incessantly exposed to such articles that they had subtly become conditioned to accept a particular version of the facts of the trial. Which we've seen. We've seen that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going. Like I say, I'm not going to read this entire doc. The amount of media coverage in Latah County is the highest in the state and does not wane. More than 1,300 specific media articles. It's madness, and the vast majority of those articles are indeed just pointing towards Bryan Kohberger did this, Bryan Kohberger did that. He's now taking a piss with his alibi, saying that he was looking at the moon and stars, which is then subtly the conditioning where people are still coming forward and saying, oh, he was looking at the moon and stars. I've even got people still to this very day sending me email saying, how was Bryan Kohberger stargazing when it was saying it was cloudy that night? And I'm thinking to myself, this is exactly what they're saying. People being conditioned to believe that certain things that they've heard are factual representation of what happened around this trial. And that's not the case. It's just a version of events being told by media that don't have access to the facts, but the damage is already done. It's viral. It's out there. It's contagious. And again, like I said at the beginning of this video, you see it just in the community that has been built by the Gonsalves family. It's disgusting, some of the things that you see in there. And then you will see them comment, you will see them heart comments that are not indicative of a family that is seeking the right justice, because they're not even asking the questions. They're seemingly going along with the details that they're being fed. And this is a family. This is a family at ground zero who lost their child, and they're basing their thoughts and feelings on media coverage, not even the facts, because they don't have the facts. Unless you're saying that they do have the facts, but Ann Taylor doesn't have the facts, Eliza Masseth doesn't have the facts, but Steve Gonsalves and Christy Gonsalves have the facts. And that then justifies their behavior in building a community towards hating Bryan Kohberger, who has been accused of the crime. Now, I know what will happen if it goes to court and it is proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Bryan Kohberger did the crime, which I'm open to happening. You're going to get people who are turning around and saying, well, you was wrong. You was wrong. They were right all along. No, people are not fucking right. It's not right to behave in a manner that is convicting someone of a crime prior to them being found guilty of that crime, and basing their behavior on media coverage. You know, people in these on YouTube, for instance, they are who whatever their favorite content creator says is their whole belief construct around individual cases. You know, if so and so believes that someone's guilty, then they must be guilty because I love that fucking creator. Fuck that creator. If they're at this stage pushing heavily that Bryan Kohberger is guilty, if there is a creator doing that, then that creator is someone who is not for what is right and proper, therefore garnering following based on leveraging what their community, what the feeling within the community is. It's no different than media, than legacy media, mainstream media, going hard on the Bryan Kohberger's guilty because that's the most publicly accepted thing to do, because we've had deaths and he's the person who's been accused. If you go against that, then you're going against the cops, you're going against the investigation, you're going against what these good men and women of law have concluded, thinking that law can't be wrong, law can't be skewed, that these places can't be as bent as a 2-bob bit. Anyway, I digress. So, the media coverage here, unrefuted survey data justifies a change of venue, which is the Dr. Edelman survey, which it does. They're literally saying that Bryan Kohberger's guilty, and if the court doesn't find him guilty, then he's fucked. He'll be killed in the streets. Even the parents will kill him. The families will kill him. Fair trial? Is he going to get a fair trial? Is that even possible at this stage? And whose fault is it? I'll catch you all in the next one.